Thank you for tuning in to this conversation in support of the new residents of our 6th iteration of the Regional Art Residency Caribbean Linked. It has been 3 years since our 5th iteration in 2018, which seems like a lifetime ago, especially as we stare down the barrel of the ongoing pandemic. Before we begin, we would of course like to express our gratitude to Bankgiro, Mondrian Funds, and UNOCA for supporting Caribbean Linked over the years.
Hello, everyone. Massive thank yous to our angel investors who continue to give time since the inception of Caribbean Linked in 2011 to ensure that the lifeblood and the spirit of the residency program grows from strength to strength. A very special thank you to Gerrit van der Hout and Margaret Couver, who tirelessly work with the funders in the Netherlands to ensure that Caribbean Linked can survive. And many thanks to the ever-generous and kind-hearted Elvis Lopez, director of the oldest alternative school in the Dutch Caribbean, Ateliers 89, and Caribbean Linked's co-founder, for extending support, willingness, and an open heart to all of our participants as CL's gracious 2022 host.
On the back end, we have Catherine Kennedy, our tech guru and wizard, who's offering us support, building on the already incredible work that she continues to do to make us shine, be present, clear, and loud for this transmission, along with being our stalwart administrator and dear friend. Thank you so much, Catherine. This afternoon, we're very happy to introduce you to 4 of Caribbean Linked 6-9 visual artists who are joining us for the month of August to create, collaborate, and build new bonds with other creatives regionally. Each of them will speak about their work for about 5 minutes, after which we'll engage in a conversation all together. We'll reserve the last 10 minutes of this hour to address questions from you, the audience, which in its 6th year is offering another live session at the end of August with the remaining 5 residents.
And now for our introductions. First up is Taisha Carrington. Taisha is a Barbadian multidisciplinary artist working in performance, sculpture, body adornment, and installation. Her work seeks to promote solidarity with the land and investigate the liminality of life in the Caribbean after colonialism and into the Anthropocene. Taisha invents devices and explores performances for self-healing and facilitation of social dialogue about climate justice, while proposing methods for rebirth, reclamation, and reimagining the value of Caribbean people and communities. Taisha received her BFA from Pratt Institute in 2018 and currently works in Barbados, collaborating with biochemists, farmers, and medical practitioners to pool knowledge and resources and shed light on social issues. Welcome, Taisha. We're happy to have you.
Thanks so much.
Up next is Akley Olton, a filmmaker and visual artist based in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, my homeland. Akley has a passion for stories that inspire and provoke. He is dedicated to the development of the Caribbean cinema and has been trained in the visual arts, graphic design, animation and film, and audiovisual production. He has been building a professional career as a director of photography with 8+ years of experience with cinematography, color correction, grading, and video production on several local, regional, and international projects, including award-winning fiction and documentary films.
And now we'd like to welcome Susanna. Susanna Pilar is a Cuban artist joining us today from the Netherlands. She completed a postgraduate course in new media at the Karlsruhe University of Arts and Design with a DAD scholarship in Germany. She studied at the Fine Arts Academy, San Alejandro, and the High Institute of Arts, or ISA, in Havana. She was artist in residence at CAD and SR from 2019 to 20 on a research fellowship in Italy and Kenya, and a guest professor with the Peter and Irene Ludwig Grant at the Hungarian University of Fine Arts in 2020. She recently exhibited in the 6th Lubumbashi Biennial in the Democratic Republic of Congo, at the 13th Havana Biennale, and in Resilience and Resistance in African Diaspora, New Museum of African Civilizations in Dakar, Senegal. Welcome, Susanna. And finally, we'd like to welcome Sarabel Santos-Negrón, who is a multidisciplinary artist, educator, and museum professional. Her work is informed by the experience and memory of the social, environmental, and political economic aspects reflected in the landscape of Puerto Rico. Sarabel earned an MFA in Studio Art from the Maryland Institute College of Art and an MAE in Museum Studies from Caribbean University in Puerto Rico. Sarabel has developed a self-residency called Residencia del Rio, an ongoing research project in Puerto Rico. She received the Borimix 29 Award for the social currency project Valor y Cambio and is currently the director of the Museo de Arte de Bayamón in Puerto Rico. So we'll now like to invite each of you to speak a little bit about your practice just for 5 minutes, and we're going to kick off with Taisha. Welcome, Taisha.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this residency. Following up on the introduction that Holly gave, I'd say I started my current body of work in 2019 when I returned to Barbados after living in New York for 5 years. During that time, I came to realize that my knowledge of the island, gathered largely in my younger years, didn't have a lot of me in it. Like many local Barbadians, I never really explored the island or traveled or found ways to know it outside of the institutions I was a part of, being school and my family and so on. So in 2019, I set out to do what I call making peace with my island, facing the reality that I might have to migrate based on my career path and the things I wanted to accomplish in life. And I thought I should find a way to explore and determine for myself what life here could be like. And that inherent in that analysis for myself was understanding the climate crisis and all of the very relevant issues happening currently. And my work addresses that through inventing devices. So Catherine, you can bring image number 1. So this was one of the first pieces I brought to fruition after returning home, and I call it an Ecosphere Reliquary. With this work, I attempted to create a self-sufficient device that really was a metaphor for life here on the island. I wanted to see what conditions were necessary for us to thrive, or under which conditions we might die, prosper, how we might react, how we might adapt. And of course, a lot of this language might sound familiar in the realm of the climate crisis. And I guess at the time, I wasn't focusing heavily on that aspect, but it came out as I dedicated my time to developing this work. So what it really is a basin that has salt water, I gather, from the ocean. And it's supposed to fuel this entire system. This was about the 7th iteration of this project. And the others you can see on my website, but in some occasions I tried having the plants inside where they are protected and sheltered, but they are deprived of oxygen. And it was interesting to see how they adapt, changing color, broadening their leaves, stunting their own growth. And just all of it really was a therapeutic process for me, just waiting on the plants to grow and having to attend to them daily. On this final iteration, the plants did grow and survive for a pretty long period of time until I removed myself from the equation and they eventually died. You can go to the following image. This is the last performance, the most recent performance I did here in Barbados. It was about 3 weeks ago. And it was an idea I had for maybe well over a year and a half now, where I just wanted to play musical chairs, a very universal symbol of a game of chance. And I thought it was such a perfect fit for how my experience of the Caribbean at this time. It's very fragile, you know, lots of firsts are happening here for us in Barbados. We recently had the volcanic eruption happen in our neighboring islands in Vincent that impacted us. Hurricane Elsa impacted us recently. And for me, it's a lot of firsts in my lifetime, and same for my parents. And collectively, we're going through this experience of fragility and uncertainty and unpredictability. And by building these chairs, where I invited others to help me, we spent about 3 hours building the chairs, and then I played a game. I played the musical chairs game. And what I sang while playing musical chairs was a familiar song by the mighty Gabby Emerton, which is really a song of displacement. And I punctuated that song with a speech given by our Prime Minister, Mia Motley, at the UNCTAD conference, where she pleaded with with larger countries to not treat us as disposable people. And I really use these performances and these installations as ways to just get an idea of how others are feeling and to just document my experience of the island at the current time. I'll stop there. That's about my 5 minutes. You're muted, Alan.
Yes.
Sorry, we can head over to Akley. Thanks, Taisha. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Taisha. Thanks for sharing. I feel already like so many commonalities, you know, between how the Bajan expresses and the need for the Vinci's expression. So I appreciated that. So for me, image making came to me in a sort of natural way, where it was perceived like, you know, I was a kid who was born with this talent, and the environment that I was in celebrated the talent, and it allowed me to like I guess create a sort of like safe space where I could do whatever my imagination wanted me to do, and people would tell me if it's beautiful or if it's not, you know, and I would feel encouraged, and that was my family. And you know, I left that and I went into the world, and I kind of you know, dealt with the post-colonial system that we live in, and little by little you learn bits and pieces of yourself based on this system. And somewhere in between there, I stumbled upon the first stories of the indigenous history of the island, and it just sort of, you know, it just sort of like spoke to me, but it didn't really say much. My whole life continued, and I was still pursuing developing images, but I didn't know why until I was at community college, and Miss Vonnie Rudette, this is she was the lecturer at the community college, and you know, like the time I spent with her just sort of like transformed how I saw myself and how I saw the world around me. And you know, I just started to want to build this side of me more, and I continued to build it. As I continued to build it, it kind of opened doors for me to build it some more, and I got to be a part of experiences that sort of like change what I think of myself. I guess it's like post-colonial deconstruction, and some of it made me see, I guess, lapses in my national narrative, and now I've figured out a way to use this image making to sort of fill these gaps. You know, some of it requires imagination, and some of it requires just questioning, just lots and lots of questioning. If I could see the first image, please. So right, so this first image is supposed to represent the image of our national hero Joseph Chatoyer. He when he died, the island was taken and colonized by Europeans, and St. Vincent was created. You know, he has these implements. You know, he has a sword, he has a pipe, he has a turban. You know, he has this loincloth-looking thing, and in his culture, these things that he's wearing mean something, because he was actually a king. You know, the chief of chiefs of his people. So these things mean something. And he is our hero today, but we don't know what these things mean nor where they come from. Actually, this image that I recreated originally, I guess, from my imagination, I guess. But the truth is, this image was sort of like engraved in my imagination, much like the European, Grenadines engraved it in the history books. So what I'm trying to say is, my national narrative exists in my mind and the minds of lots of people as a fiction, you know, and to confront that, I've been coming up with these images or these stories to tell, I guess, what I've learned, or to tell my version of it. If we go to the next image, please. Image number 2, please. Yeah, so, right. Yes, so this image. So both of these images are preliminary sketches, ideas in development. Um, so this one, it's kind of like a merger of two things. One of it is my imagination, and the other is, I guess, the picturesque postcard Caribbean that we are all accustomed to, that we all know. And I just like to juxtaposition, I guess, the destruction, the death, the chaos, the genocide, the exile of people who used to occupy these lands that are now portrayed as beautiful, pristine places for people to come and relax. Um, I feel there is something there that allows me to honor the memory of these people, and also to I guess to point my finger and denounce some of the things that I see as the inheritance of this colonial past, because like I started, we're living in a post-colonial Caribbean, and the tourism industry and the hotel industry, as I see it, somehow casts the same shadow as the plantation, and I just wanted to confront that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Akley, for that. Up next, we'll have Susanna.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Caribbean Linker, for this opportunity, and thank you for to Taisha and Akley for your presentations. Really, really interesting. It moved from my head a lot, my thoughts. So I would like to speak about two works, which one is a little bit more. I see right now a little bit more historical, let's say, in relation to what I have done and what is happening right now at the moment. And the second work, I see it more like it speaks to me like every day. It's speaking to me even today. So I want to speak about a performance which I document through video, which is related to the history of my family. I am descendant from Africans and also from Chinese. Both had been brought to Cuba during the colony times by force and through boats. And actually, I see myself as a descendant of survivors. And this to me means a lot, because there had been so many African people who didn't make it to Las Americas from Africa, and the same with the Chinese who came to Cuba looking for a better living condition, but end up also in slavery conditions, almost same as the Africans that were enslaved in Cuba. And my family come from Havana and also from Matanzas. And I did this action, which is called the Wuho Intercontinental Drawing, in which I'm pulling a boat. Catherine, could you help me with the image, please? I am pulling a boat. I'm trying to use my waist to pull the boat until I can move it at the end. I don't know if it's possible to show you the image, Catherine. Maybe if you could help me with the image.
I think there's a technical issue on the back end.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Susanna,
fine.
if you can keep speaking about it, Catherine will pull it up when she can. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. So what I did is I was pulling a boat, and I put a rope in my waist, and I was trying to pull for about 1.5 hours until I managed to move it a little bit. So to me, that action represents the heritage I am carrying out. And to me, this heritage also involves this trip of my Africans and Chinese descendants. A trip that they didn't choose, a trip that they didn't, they didn't have other choice to do, but they managed to survive that trip and even create new life from that. So to me, this is really, really important also to remind to myself every day. And this work is also really connected to the other work, which is called Resistance, in which is the one I'm saying that speaks to me like quite a lot even today, because we have a really difficult situation at the moment in Cuba. And that work that I did in 2019 was mainly speaking about resisting as a Black woman, resisting every day also as a Black artist. But we have also a big, let's say, tradition in Cuba of resistance as Cubans, and still today we are going through this, and we still trying to resist to everything from daily life things to major issues. So I had to learn that through the years, and this also came from my ancestor who had to resist from the moment they were forced to come to Cuba against their own will. So for me, those two words, dibujo intercontinental and resistance, are very important. That's why I choose them both. And yeah, this is what I wanted to share with you. Maybe you can check on my website or my blog. Okay. So this is the first one. Actually, I have a video as well, which document the process, a little bit of the process. It's a video of like 10 minutes, and you can see it also on my website. And then the other image of resistance, which is steel. You can also find it. I think on my website you can find a video I did, and this was about an hour. I was through the whole action that I filmed. I was having air fans, like big fans, and they were blowing on my body all the time, and I was trying to resist to that. And by this, I choose this way of doing it because it's something you cannot see, but you know it's there, and you are resisting to that. But sometimes you are not so sure, but it's there. So this was a way to show this invisible force that was trying to turn me down, but I was resisting all the time until I managed actually to stand still after an hour of that. So yeah, thank you.
Susanna, thank you so much. And last up, we have Sarabel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so pleased to be here today. Well, as an introduction, I would say that my practice is nourished by very personal experiences that I gather from the everyday, from where I live and what surrounds me. For many years, I have been immersed by the experience and memory of the Puerto Rican landscape. Landscape is a visual element that defines a place and its culture in a specific historical context. For me, it is also identity. It is something that I carry inside. Landscape sometimes is regarded as a physical space or as a specific portion of the Earth's surface. It is perceived as the result of human-nature relationships in a given area. In my art practice, landscape is the frame where I started to point out the environmental concerns and the social, cultural, and political activities or situations regarding to the island of Puerto Rico in a specific time. Landscape has the evidence of our social and human progress, but at the same time, it remarks our decadence and needs. As you may know, Puerto Rico is an island, particularly known as a vacation paradise. However, it is the world's oldest colony. We are an unincorporated territory of the United States. Our lands and natural resources are governed by the great interest, mostly managed for the benefit and enrichment of foreign investors. The landscape that people pray us for so much is one that I am afraid of losing. So working the landscape in my practice is the way I have to reclaim my space. My land poses and return me to the land where I was born. To talk more about this, I want to present two works and its context. Both of them were created after Hurricane Maria and during the pandemic of COVID-19. In 2018, I decided to develop this work entitled Insula, Island, Isolated House, Place of Little Importance. It is a floor piece created with drawings and photographs intervened of different grounds from towns that I have been in contact a couple of months after Hurricane Maria hits. Looking to the ground was the way I did to walk safely over the rubbish. I was intrigued of what the ground can tell me about the place and the time. Also, a way to think of where I was standing, walking, or where I was stranded during that catastrophe. It was also a way of documenting the losses of many families in the island, including mine. So with this floor piece, I was interested in depicting an island where you can stand for, but not for vacation reasons, but for embrace the reality of its social and economic conditions. This island is filled by debris and belongings of people. I wanted to remember how Puerto Rico was after this atmospheric disaster, and also even how Puerto Rico still is. I need not to forget. When I remember, I feel in place. So talking about memory and remember, in 2020, the second picture, please. After when the pandemic just started, I decided to create a calendar of days we were in full confinement in Puerto Rico. I named it Ir y Retornar, Going and Return. And it is a project for the arrangement and daily documentation of wild plants that I randomly select and isolate as an exercise of meditation and reflection in response to the social distancing from the COVID-19 pandemic. With this, I seek to make a catalog and a calendar of leaves with which I keep memory of the passage of time and the change of an organism when it is separated from its natural state. The project was started on the first day of quarantine in Puerto Rico on March 16 until May 26, 2020, the day the government made confinement more flexible. It consisted of visiting a small jar that I have in my residence studio in Bayamón, Puerto Rico, where I collect different leaves and deposit them in a tiny sealed plastic bags. The activity became a ritual. I woke up, I went to the jar, I searched, I selected, I counted, I returned to the house, and then I safeguarded what I found. I kept the count of the days in quarantine by the amount of leaves that I collected. This meditative exercise of the passage of time led me to keep using the calendar as a way to save memory of the days that I lived from the same place. For this reason, during this Caribbean Link residency, I'll be working in a project making cartographies of time and space, a new kind of calendar that is nourished by the collection of data about the state of the weather based on my daily experiences. I hope to the end of the residency show the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarabel, and thank you everyone for sharing about your work so generously. So many parallels already with the body, post-colonial context, memory, ecologies, power and history. Really fascinating. So to jump right into the conversation, we'll present you with 2 questions to the group, and you can feel free to address in whichever capacity you choose to and a call to. First up, what do you think the value is having your work being supported in a program like Caribbean Linked? This year preempts the physical meeting in Aruba in 2022, fingers crossed. How do you feel that this encounter will prime you for the residency's physical manifestation?
I can jump in and answer. I can say this is a hard one to say because I sometimes feel guilty about it. But to be honest, I'm not very familiar with fellow Caribbean artists. And that's largely because my tertiary education happened outside of the Caribbean. So I'm well versed in, American, European artists and so on, but not so much in fellow Caribbean artists. And there aren't many spaces that facilitate acquiring that knowledge very easily. Or at least I should say that I have found so far. But these opportunities like Caribbean Linked are obviously such a fertile environment to not only learn about my fellow residents, but to learn about their friends and visit their spaces when the time comes, or just have the opportunity to go to another Caribbean island, Aruba, and experience the art environment there. Because clearly there are a lot of parallels that we're addressing, but prior to this residency, I hadn't met the other artists here to even know that we're in conversation, which clearly we are. So that part is probably quite obvious, but I stated it anyway because I'd admit that it's hard for me to learn about the work of others.
Thank you. Go ahead, Susanna.
I want to second that Taisha said, and I just want to say a metaphor that came to my head while she was speaking, is that I feel that I know people in other provinces, but I don't know my neighbors. You know what I mean? So for me, it's so crazy. Like the first time I visit Martinique, which is actually the only island I have visited in the Caribbean, was maybe 10 years after I have been traveling to Europe, to other places, and I was never in a neighbor country, and we are so close, but at the same time so distant. So for me, it's really important. It's really important residency because we have so many things in common, so many things. I can read through the situations. I could understand many things in Martinique, even when I don't speak French, I don't speak the language, but I saw so many things that I understand because we are so close and so similar. But at the same time, we have been separated through the whole colony process and repartition, or splitting of the Caribbean through the different European countries. But we have a lot in common, and there is a lot that we share that they could not take away from us. Mm-hmm. So I love this initiative, and would be great if there are more of this, so that we can leak more and we can develop more in those things that bring us together. I'm sure we can get so many things, so many good things. So I just wanted to say that.
I would say also that I need to find other voices from the Caribbean that are similar to mine. Also, I think that having this, my practice, gain context and perspective. So it's something that I feel that I needed, and also create connections. As Taisha and Susanna said, know our neighbors. We need that. So I am very glad to be here, and thank you so much for that.
If I could just make a contribution. So there's this book by James Baldwin. If Beale Street Could Talk, and I guess it speaks about the experience of Black communities across the U.S. And basically, like what he's describing is that wherever he went, it was as if he was coming back home to the same place. It was as if he was finding home in different communities or different places across the U.S. And I think that spans across the Caribbean. I think it spans across, like maybe like the Black diaspora as well, where there are these communities where you just see things that, like you feel familiar, you feel at home. Um, the other level on which this experience is operating is languages. Like there are people in here who speak different languages, and like a language is like one way of understanding the world. So if you could interact and share perspective on a thing that everybody knows quite well, we're just separated by some superficial map things and a lot of water. But basically I feel like the need to express as a person from these islands, given the history, is the same. And even now that we come here and we share and we realize that, oh wait, he kind of sound like the same thing I saying, or she's saying the same thing I'm saying, and you realize that it's really one shared experience. And I'm extremely glad to be a part of this, this voice right now. So thank you so much again for having me here.
Great. Thank you so much. One of the things that happens in the physical residency is that you're living and working together and sharing studio spaces, and you're exposed to each other's working methodologies. That's something that you're not going to get in the virtual edition this year. So, we often talk about the ideas and the concepts and the theories behind the work, but I find a lot of times we don't speak about the making. And I wondered if any of you would want to speak about some of the material decisions you make, or the process in terms of building your work, tools that you're working with, and maybe share a little bit about the practicality of your practices.
In my process, there is a lot of unconscious things that happen, but when I look to it after, I realize that there is a lot of connections and things between the decisions I made and the different works I developed, that they respond unconsciously. They respond to conscious things and things that happen to me or that I am concerned about. Sometimes I get some of my ideas while I'm sleeping. I wake up and then the idea is there, or I am doing something who is not related to art. I don't know. I'm just maybe trying to buy something in the market, and then suddenly the idea is coming. And sometimes I think, okay, this is really random, or what is the connection? Why I get this idea now? Because this is I'm not in the studio or waiting for the muse. So I think, okay, what is this? And I think it's just part of the things I am concerned about, and they stay there up in my mind, even when I am doing a breath or doing something. Like they are part of my life, so they are there, living all the time with me, and they turn on a shape of a work, or on a shape of a performance, or a photo or video. I can tell a sample of homage I did a few years ago to the Cuban and American artist Ana Mendieta. I make an homage with Afro Cuban practitioners of Afro-Cuban religion, and this came to my mind while I was on sleep. But weeks before I was thinking of her, I visited an exhibition of her, and this was really on my mind at that moment. So this just came one night. I was sleeping, and then bam! I said, okay, I think I need to make an homage for her in Cuba if she allows, of course. So I would say that that it just comes through the daily activities and the daily things I am doing, and I not always choose the material. The idea comes first, and then I think, okay, this material this way is the most is the one who to which I can communicate the most. This I want to say or communicate or express. So yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Taisha?
Jumping on what Susanna said, for me, it's a little bit of the opposite, where material usually comes first. So for me, like, I work a lot with ocean water, and I started that in 2019, not knowing where it would lead me to, but I felt like that material had a story, and I've explored how to express that story through my experiments, through the devices I make, through covering myself with it. A lot of my work on the personal side can also be performance. So often in my studio, I am doing the things that inform the work. So covering my body with the salt, or holding certain poses, recreating certain feelings to kind of stimulate how I would translate that for someone else. Because the starting point is always where art fits in my life. And it has always, I've always been familiar with art. It's always been there. I never knew my life without it. So from a very young age, it was a way of simply expressing, oh, I like to draw. But as I got older, I realized its power to really inform me about myself. And also, particularly in the pandemic, I found it very useful as the way I can hold myself accountable for my own well-being. In particular, there was a installation I did, or even the same one I shared with you, where I had to take time to go outside and look at plants and make sure that water is slowly running into a small garden, which could take about 30 minutes. And yes, I was attending to the artwork, but I was very much attending to my well-being in this very traumatic time of the of transitioning my whole art practice. So after that one was not intentional. I didn't go about hoping the art would serve this dual purpose, but I acknowledged that it did. And moving forward from that work, so maybe for the past year and a half now, I've used my work as kind of the person to tell me, no, come here and focus on this. Come take a break. Come sit outside, because this is research, you know? Like, I disguise all of these well-being acts within my work, and that's honestly for me. So my performances are usually very long. It could be happening over a period of 6 months, where I'm traveling the entire island, collecting things that at the moment of picking it up, I know it's going to make its way into the art, but I have no real idea how it will. But I can balance how I have leisure and also produce my artwork. And that was really the goal for my practice. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in there.
Thank you. Yes, Sarabel.
Yes, in my case, I would say that the idea comes first, and after having that, then the material comes. So I am very interested in response to the everyday, particularly things that are happening where I am. So every day is my practice. The common thing is that all of my works are created with found materials, photographs or just material itself, wood, paper. But I need to collect. I need to find the material in different places. So that's, and also I am very organic in that process. I am not like very structured in that, but I need to have the idea first, and then all things come together.
Akley.
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit more, I guess, like a process. I feel it. I usually like dive myself into like research to like immerse myself in the world. Whether it is like preparing for a film or if it's creating an image, the thing that's most important to me is to make sure that whatever message that I want to send or whoever wants me to send is received. So whether it's like translating words into image or translating like image into sensations with moving image, it's really about making sure the message is understood, and that might take like understanding lots of things and simplifying them or adding them together with other concepts. So that is what is most important to me in the beginning. The second thing that is important to me is the physicalities of the aesthetics, because I feel like I'm a soldier and we're in a war, and it's an aesthetic war. It's like a war to define what beauty is. And like there are these concepts of beauty and how it's set up, and some of it says that the things that we consider beautiful is not beautiful. So it's really to like confront that by making things that even these people who consider it to be ugly, like making them see that it's beautiful, and also giving power to the perspective that is from the inside, and not letting like all the big conventions define what I create. So yeah, so that's my thing. There's a lot of like thinking.
Great. Thank you all so much. Now, of course, Holly and I have a whole host of questions, but we're at 4:48, and we are also, I think we have some questions coming in from the audience. So maybe, Catherine, I'm not sure if you have a question that you can share with us. So question from the Ucher, question for both Akley and Taisha. What changes have you made to still keep on the path as an artist or filmmaker? Have either of you attempted, or have you been forced to take jobs or find new careers during COVID? So if so, or if not, how did you guys find not only the courage to push through, but also the power to stand up and keep on the journey of exploring your creative side of your own human experience? That's a big question. I don't know who wants to take that first.
It's from a Bajan, so maybe you could, honor your, or I could do it.
Okay, I'll go ahead first. I think I might know the person as well. To be honest, I have been extremely strategic. It wasn't really a chance situation for me. So I'd say that first. But also the pandemic happened at a time where I had really disrupted my entire practice already. My BFA is in jewelry design and metalsmithing. It's a very particular field, very narrow. So other than a thesis collection, I had no artwork. So the first question I had to answer for myself was, what's the saleable or profitable part of my practice? And for a while I was really frustrated because I wanted it to just be easier, like painting or drawing or something more two-dimensional, but that wasn't honest for me. But it occurred to me that I can sell ideas. And by that, I meant that I could write proposals and possibly secure residencies with artist fees, or secure grants, or just secure other ways of funding for artists externally and also within the Caribbean that was not focused on the sale of a product. And of course, that then afforded me the opportunity to build the portfolio that was non-existent at the beginning. But in the beginning, I did work teaching for about for 1 term. So during that time, I tried to develop a portfolio that I can then use to apply to opportunities. For most of the year, it has been solely my art practice following this strategy. What was the second part of the question?
How did you find the courage to push through and the power to stand up?
The courage, honestly, I just don't, I don't have alternatives in my mind other than art. So it's really like something has to happen. And I wish I could give more specifics on how I maintain that drive, but I just don't see another option other than art for myself.
Okay, so I could just jump in there. So in my country, there isn't any kind of like defined system to like, you know, like industry or any sort of like structure set up for you to like, I guess, model yourself off of, you know, like maybe there are other people who are artists, but maybe they haven't presented themselves as mentors, or even if they, you know, they have their formula, maybe they're not sharing it, you know, to like let you know how to get in on the scene. So for me in the beginning, it was really difficult. For me, I kind of just stuck. I did the you know, like education, and I got scholarships, and the scholarships were art scholarships. So it helped me to go to university, and then when I was there, I maximized the experience, and you know, like just put myself out there a lot and collaborate with lots of people, and this kind of like helped me to build a portfolio. But when I came back home to St. Vincent, my big challenge was the gear, you know, especially in terms of like filmmaking, was the equipment and how to get it. Or there are no rental houses, there are no, you know, there's nothing in St. Vincent to work with when it comes to that. So I had to earn it, I had to buy it. So, you know, I used the skills I had, and like I say, I started to like use the skills and shop myself around, you know, to semi-professional shoots. And you know, so I was maybe like making a little bit and just saving it up and investing everything I can in equipment. And when I came home, that's what kind of saved me, because even though I didn't like intend to be an entrepreneur, I just started doing it because, you know, like I have these skills. There are no media companies to hire me, so what do? So I just freelance and put myself out there, and then I started to try to find ways to put like serious structure around it, you know, like go down to town and register it as a business, and then find people who you feel safe with to collaborate, who understand, you know, bigger, complicated financial things. And you know, just look for your team or look for your tribe in between there, and hope you find it. It might take trial and errors, lots of trial and errors, and you know, and just kind of like persevering. But basically, because I was always operating on a tangent which was outside of St. Vincent, because I mean, I felt like I was in a perpetual state of doom in terms of my art, just living here, like I'll never make it. So because I recognized that early, I just started to not focus on pleasing what was happening here, and I was looking for themes and things that were interesting globally, that I think St. Vincent has a powerful thing to say in that conversation, but it's not being said. And like, you know, like I had built up myself over the years in terms of understanding the technique and how to create media at the highest levels, you know, so to make sure that it's like pristine and whatever. So it was just a matter of, you know, like working hard at it, and then have it there. And when COVID happened, I feel I had already like put lots of things on the internet and create lots of projects and got my work exhibited in places. And when COVID happened, people started to want to contribute to content creation more. You know, the demand for it increased, and I was already in the right situation. So COVID, the whole experience of it, to me feels like a moment of triumph, or like a little arc in my journey as a content creator producer from St. Vincent. And you know, it's just kind of like an amazing twist of you know, of what's possible. But the thing that made me understand is just that you know, there's always value in a space if you see it, and you just have to like hold out. And it's not going to be easy, but that's part of the lesson as well, right? Just being able to like persevere, and it's not going to be, you know, it's going to break your heart and tear you to pieces, but it's going to make you strong. And when you learn these lessons from heartbreak, you know, like nobody could trick you next time, you know. So that's how it was for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Akley and Taisha. Catherine, do we have another question? Okay, this one coming in from Ethan Knowles. This is a question to or for Susanna. Does your performance work typically incorporate live audiences? If so, how do live reactions differ from those elicited online? I'm curious about the digital life of performance art.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, questions. I will reply first to the first one. Yes, many of my performance work includes audience, some other not. Some other are just me and the camera. But there are many in which the audience actually activates the work. So the work is not happening if the audience is not there, is not part of it. I am directly thinking on the competition I organized in Cuba for natural Afro hair. It was a performance, but also a public intervention that would not happen if there were not the people participating. So actually, they were the main. They were the main reason for which I did the work, but also they were the main actors, if I could call it like that, in that action. And yeah, for me, in many of my work, the public is important, and the public is the one who activates the work or is part of the work, as I said before. And I decided to do some performance in that way because to me this was the way in which they could understand more what I was trying to say by being part of the experience and part of it. And I felt that I could communicate more with them if they are part of the process, or they're really involved in the action or what I'm doing, or they're also doing the things, so they could realize more, or they could be more conscious. And it was not only like me in one part of the stage and then the public in the other side just looking and being no active. So for me, it was important that they would also be part of it, so that they could get more what I was trying to express. And to the other question, which is also very interesting, how do live reactions differ from those elicited online? I'm curious about the digital life of performance art. To my experience, I can only think in two works, which I'm not sure if I had done much online performance, but there is three works actually. There is one performance I did a few years ago. I did it. I was studying in Germany, and I had an invitation to go to the States for an exhibition, but I didn't go the visa because I was not in Cuba, and they would not do it if I was in Germany. So I got invited again. Then after I was still studying Germany, and I said, okay, this time I will do it online. I will just place my body, my digital body, in the exhibition space, and I would just try to just break those barriers, those frontiers of visa and nationalities, passports. So I just then did a performance from Germany to the States, in which I invite the public to play this game when you're a child. So I was live for uh, almost every day in my room during the opening time of the gallery. And then there was a screen in the gallery. I was just the same size, like just human size. And then you could see me there, and you could talk to me and interact with me, and I will just offer you to play. Some people were thinking that I was a video, that I was just that it was not live, that I was automatic video. So to me it was interesting because I had a camera in which I could see the gallery, and I could see people passing by, and I would speak to them, and they would think, "Oh, this is just not live," so they would continue. But then when I would say something about their shoes or their work, they were like, "Oh, you're actually there." And I did it again the second time when I was in Cuba. And still I would not get the visa, so I did it from Cuba to the States using a VPN. And was interesting because some of my friends were in that exhibition, and then one of my friends said, "Why you didn't tell me? I didn't say hi to you." That she just passed me by, and to me it was interesting to use internet and the online world to to just come across those barriers and those frontiers. So the other two works I is one I did in Second Life, which is called Dominadora Inmaterial, Immaterial Dom, and it's an avatar in which through which I was having a financial slave. You can see it on my website. There is a website for her. Her name is Flor Elena, and I was through this platform, which is Second Life. I was exploring the roles of the money, and how money is used also like digitally and virtually, but how it represent how it's a symbol of power and transactions of power. And the other work that I did online, the other performance, was during the pandemic last year, and I was inviting was a collective performance which I invite everyone who wanted to join, and we did a group video call, like a Zoom video call, and then I invited them to wash the hair with me. I was washing my hair. Everyone could bring also their shampoo, their things, and we will all wash our hair and also think about controlling, about how we are using our thoughts, our brain, how societies is working around that. So those three is my experience for performance online. And the digital files, would you say you're curious about the digital life of performance art? To
Susanna,
me,
just very quickly, because we are over time. So if you could just wrap up quickly with that last answer, please.
For the digital life of performance art, for me, it will have the saying that the life. I mean, maybe the effort is different, but it's all about the experience and to have the experience. So if the experience is involved, even when the platform is different, I think it's still being it's still being performance to me, even when we are doing it digital or we are doing it with the public live.
Mm-hmm.
So,
thank you so much, Susanna. So just before we wrap up, we just have one more question, Sarabel. You shared a couple of images with us. One shows this kind of bird's eye view of a kind of a chaotic landscape, and the other one is this very ordered collection of botanicals that evolved over, I think, maybe 80 days. And they're both obviously engaging with ecological issues in relationship to small island developing states. We are exposed to so much ecological trauma at the moment. What do you want your audience to take away from these works?
Well, I would say that probably the main thing that I would like that people gain looking at this work is trying to reimagine how the island is, particularly the first one, because when I had the opportunity to travel many different places, and when people talk about Puerto Rico, it's like a trademark. It's like the paradise. Is all these idolized things. Well, Puerto Rico is beautiful, but I wanted to give other face, and not only to show that bad things, but to be honest and not trying to not maintain that idealization of the island. So that is the main purpose of most of my works.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for engaging and being so incredible with your exchange, and for giving us some insight with regards to your practices, your motivations, and of course, these inspiring stories that you're sharing of survival and thrival in this very moment. And thanks to everyone who has submitted questions, and for all of you looking in this afternoon. Just as a reminder, we will have another public event at the end of the month on August 31st. That's Tuesday. You can click into the comments box to get that link and set your reminder today, where we'll be able to give you some more information on the remaining 5 artists who we're supporting in this 9-artist cohort. And they include Romalinda Maldonado, John Reno Jackson, Samuel Sarmiento, Belisa Troop, and Claudio Arnell.
Thanks, Holly. And just to say that Caribbean Linked 6 virtual program is also supporting a Bahamian writer, Ethan Knowles, who is going to be producing a series of texts throughout the residency, as well as 2 Latin American curators, Miguel Lopez, who is based in Peru, and Sofia Olascoga, who is based in Mexico. And they're going to be engaging with each of the 9 artists in one-on-one studio visits. And in closing today's conversation, we really want to express huge gratitude to those who are supporting this platform, Bank Giro, Mondrian, and Unoka, for supporting Caribbean Linked over the years. We look forward to seeing you on the 31st of August for our last public engagement. Please remember to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and check our website for more information on the program and more about this year's group of artists. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.